The rain fell softly over the small town of Sandverd. It was the kind of rain that stayed for hours, turning the dirt streets into wet clay and filling the air with the smell of earth. Inside the town museum, Luan sat at a wooden table with a cup of warm tea. The museum was quiet. Only the sound of rain tapping on the old roof broke the silence. Luan worked as an assistant in the museum. He was young but had an endless curiosity about the past. Every day, he cleaned the dusty shelves, repaired broken display cases, and organized ancient artifacts. He often stayed late because the museum felt like a world apart from the busy noise outside. That evening, he was moving a heavy statue from the corner of the storage room. The statue was carved from dark stone, shaped like a Mayan priest holding a sun in his hands. Its eyes were deep and shadowed, and a faint crack ran down its side. Luan tried to lift it carefully, but as he shifted, the base scraped against the floor. Something thin and rolled slipped from behind it and landed near his feet. Luan bent down and picked it up. It was a piece of old parchment tied with a faded string. The paper felt brittle, and its edges were curled and darkened with age. He slowly untied the string and unrolled it on the table. The ink was faded but still visible. It was a map. Not just any map, but one that showed a part of the jungle outside Sandverd. The trees and rivers were drawn with careful lines, and in the center of the map was a strange symbol, a golden sun, drawn beneath a layer of earth. Around it were curved markings like waves or rays. Luan's heart beat faster. He ran his finger along the route drawn on the map. It started from a place near the river Kuel, then moved deep into the green space, marked as dense jungle. No modern map showed this route. At the bottom, there were strange shapes that looked like stars, but they were arranged in a way that reminded him of something he had once seen in a book about constellations. The door to the storage room creaked, and the museum's curator stepped in. His name was Don Miro, an old man with sharp eyes and a slow way of speaking. He had been the keeper of the museum for decades. "What are you doing here so late, Luan?" he asked, glancing at the parchment on the table. "I found this behind the statue," Luan said. "It looks like an old map." "Have you seen it before, Dom?" Miro's eyes narrowed as he looked closer. He leaned on his cane and tapped the edge of the map with one finger. "Some maps are not meant to be followed," he said quietly. "If you go where it points, you may find more than what you seek. The jungle is not only trees and animals. It hides things older than men." Luan felt a spark of curiosity grow stronger inside him. "Do you know what the symbol means?" he asked. The old man looked at him for a long moment. "Long ago, the people here spoke of a sun that sleeps under the ground," Don Miro said. "They said it was not fire but gold. They believed it kept the jungle alive. Some tried to find it. None returned. The map you hold may be one of their guides." Luan traced the path again with his finger. The idea of an underground sun made his mind race. He imagined ancient temples hidden beneath vines, golden chambers glowing in the darkness, secrets waiting to be uncovered. Don Miro shook his head. "If you are wise, you will put this back where you found it. Some treasures are not for us to take." But Luan knew himself too well. The warning only made him want to know more. That night, after the curator left, he copied the map onto a fresh sheet of paper. He studied every mark until he could picture the path in his mind. Outside, the rain slowed, and the sound of frogs filled the night air. Luan walked home through the quiet streets, the copy of the map hidden inside his coat. His small house stood at the edge of town, close to where the jungle began. The smell of wet leaves drifted in through the open window. He sat at his desk and took out a notebook. He wrote down what he would need if he decided to follow the map: food, rope, a machete, water, and a guide who knew the deep jungle. He thought about who could come with him. Morrow, his childhood friend, was strong and fearless. Tula, a local guide, knew the old trails better than anyone. And maybe Paco, the historian who had once told him stories of ancient machines hidden under the earth. Luan knew it was not a journey to take lightly. The jungle could be dangerous even for those who lived near it. But the thought of seeing the place marked on the map made it impossible for him to ignore. He felt as if the map had found him, not the other way around. He stayed awake for hours, listening to the soft sound of water dripping from the roof. The image of the golden sun beneath. The ground burned in his mind. Somewhere out there, hidden under the thick green world of the Mayan jungle, was a secret waiting for him. In the darkness, he made his decision. He would go. The next morning. The air was fresh from the night's rain. Birds called from the treetops, and the jungle seemed to glow under the sunlight. Luan walked to the market where people were selling fruit, fish, and woven baskets. He looked for Morrow, who was lifting heavy sacks of corn onto a cart. "Morrow," Luan called. "I need your help. I found something in the museum." Morrow wiped sweat from his face. "If it is another old pot, I am not interested," he said with a laugh. "It is not a pot," Luan said. "It is a map to something very old and very hidden. I think it might be gold." Morrow's eyes lit up. "Gold, you say? Then tell me more." They found a quiet corner, and Luan explained what he had found. He did not show the original map, only the copy. Morrow leaned over it with a grin. "This is deep inside the jungle. I have never gone this far, but Tula could guide us. If there is gold, we will find it." Luan smiled, but deep inside, he was not sure if gold was what they would find. Still, the plan had begun. By evening, he had spoken to Tula and Paco. Both agreed to join, though Paco warned them to respect the jungle. Supplies were gathered, and the group agreed to meet in 2 days at the old stone arch outside town, where the jungle path began. That night, as Luan lay in bed, he thought again of Don Miro's warning. The jungle hides more than animals. He wondered if the old man had told him the whole truth. But even if danger waited, he felt ready. The map had chosen him, and he would follow it. The rain began again, soft and steady, as the town slept. Somewhere in the dark, the jungle whispered, as if it already knew they were coming. 2 days later, the morning sun rose over Sandverd with a warm golden light. The streets were busy with people carrying baskets, leading donkeys, and calling to each other. Near the old stone arch at the edge of town, Luan stood with the pack on his back. The arch marked the start of the jungle path, an ancient road built long ago, now cracked and covered with moss. Morrow arrived first, carrying his machete and a small bag of food. He was smiling, but his eyes showed excitement. "Today we step into the unknown, my friend," he said. Soon after, Tula appeared. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and strong arms. Her clothes were simple, but her belt carried tools for cutting vines, tying rope, and making fire. She moved like someone who belonged to the jungle. "I hope you are ready," she said. "The jungle will test you from the first step." Paco came last, his hat pulled low to shield him from the sun. He carried a heavy notebook and a small box filled with brushes and tools for studying ancient things. "We will walk slowly," he said, "because sometimes the ground hides more than the trees do." After checking their packs, they stepped under the arch and into the jungle. The air changed at once. Outside the jungle, the sun had been bright, and the air light. Inside, the trees grew so close that the light fell in thin green lines. The air felt heavy, warm, and full of the smell of wet plants. Bird calls echoed from above, and insects hummed all around them. The sound of their own footsteps seemed small against the voice of the jungle. As they followed the path shown on the map, the ground became uneven. Roots as thick as arms rose from the soil, forcing them to climb over or around them. Vines hung from the trees like ropes, some as thick as a wrist, others thin and curling. By midday, they stopped to drink water near a wide tree whose trunk was larger than a house. Its bark was covered in strange markings, some of them looking like symbols. Paco touched them gently with his fingers. "These are old," he said. "Very old. Older than the Mayan carvings in the museum. Whoever made these lived here before the people we know about." Tula looked at the carvings without speaking. Her eyes moved to the shadows under the trees. "We should not stay long," she said. They kept walking, the path growing narrower as the day went on. Sometimes they had to use machetes to cut through walls of vines. Each time the blade struck, a strong green smell filled the air. In the afternoon, they came across a stone path almost hidden under moss and soil. It stretched forward like a forgotten road, its edges broken by roots. "This is on the map," Luan said, kneeling to touch the stones. "It means we are on the right way." They followed the stone path for some time. Along its sides stood broken pillars, each with strange carvings. Some were of the sun, some of stars, and some of shapes they could not name. As evening approached, the forest began to change. The light grew softer and the air cooler. Then, without warning, the sounds of birds and insects stopped. The silence was so sudden that they all stopped walking. Morrow frowned. "Where did everything go?" Tula's voice was low. "When the jungle becomes silent, it is because something is moving." They stood still, listening. Then, between the tall trees ahead, they saw small points of blue light, moving slowly from left to right. At first, Luan thought they might be fireflies, but the lights were steady, not blinking, and they seemed to float at the height of a person's head. The lights drifted among the trees without a sound, disappearing behind a wall of vines, then reappearing farther away. "What is that?" Morrow whispered. Paco shook his head. "I do not know, but I've read stories about lights in the deep jungle. Some say they are spirits of the old world. Some say they are a sign that something ancient is near." Tula gripped the handle of her machete. "We camp here." "We do not. Follow the lights." They found a small clearing with flat ground and built a simple camp. Morrow gathered wood while Tula set up a small fire. The light of the flames kept the darkness away, but Luan could not stop thinking about the blue lights. Even as they ate their simple meal of roasted plantain and dried meat, his eyes kept drifting toward the trees. Later, when the others were sleeping, he sat awake beside the fire. The jungle beyond the firelight was black and deep, but every now and then he thought he saw a faint blue glow between the trunks. It was far, yet it felt as if it was watching them. The night passed slowly. Strange calls echoed from far away. And once, Luan thought he heard the sound of something moving in the undergrowth near camp. But each time he turned to look, there was nothing. When morning came, the jungle seemed alive again with the sound of birds and insects. The blue lights were gone, leaving only the soft green light of day. They packed their things and moved on, deeper into the jungle. The map showed that they were halfway to the marked place. But the deeper they went, the older the jungle seemed. Some trees were so tall that their tops could not be seen. The air smelled richer, and the ground felt softer, covered with thick layers of fallen leaves. At midday, they crossed a small stream. The water was clear, and tiny silver fish swam near their feet. Luan noticed that the stones under the water were streaked with something shiny. He picked one up and saw a thin golden line running through it. It caught the sunlight, glowing softly. "This is gold," Paco said, examining it. "But gold like this is strange. It is too pure to be from here." Tula's eyes narrowed. "We are close," she said. By the time the sun began to set again, the stone path ended in a wall of thick jungle. but the map showed a way through, marked by a symbol of a river. They could hear the faint sound of water ahead. Luan's heart beat faster. He felt that whatever lay ahead was the reason for the map's existence. They made camp again, the sound of the river in the distance. This night, the jungle did not fall silent, but Luan could not sleep. He kept thinking about the blue lights, the strange carvings, and the golden line in the stone. Somewhere ahead, hidden in the heart of the Mayan jungle, was the answer. The sound of the river grew stronger as morning light filled the jungle. Sunlight broke through the leaves in narrow beams, touching the ground like golden threads. Luan woke early, his heart steady but filled with quiet excitement. He had been dreaming of water glowing in the dark, a river of light, and now the real sound of flowing water told him they were close. Tula led the way, moving carefully through the thick undergrowth. Her machete sliced through vines and branches, each cut releasing the strong scent of green leaves. Maro followed with his pack, and Paco came behind, stopping sometimes to take notes or sketch symbols he found on tree trunks. Luan walked last, his eyes scanning the trees, remembering the blue lights from 2 nights before. Soon they came to a steep slope covered in ferns. At the bottom, they saw the river. It was not wide, but it ran fast, curving between tall walls of stone covered in moss. The water caught the sunlight in a strange way. It seemed to shine not only on the surface, but from within, as if it carried light inside it. They moved down the slope carefully until they stood at the water's edge. Luan crouched and touched the water. His fingers came away with fine golden dust that shimmered in the light. "This is not normal gold," Paco said, crouching beside him. "Look how it glows, even in the shade." Tula narrowed her eyes. "This is not just gold dust. This is part of something alive. I have seen many rivers, but never one that glows from its heart." Maro laughed softly. "Alive or not, it is still gold. And gold means wealth. Even a handful could change our lives." Paco shook his head. "Be careful with such thoughts. In old stories, rivers like this were not meant for men to take from. They were part of something greater." The river's current pulled their eyes forward. Downstream, the water disappeared into the mouth of a dark cave. The opening was wide, but low, almost hidden by vines hanging like curtains. From inside, the glow of the gold dust shone brighter, painting the stone with a warm light. Luan felt drawn to it. Without speaking, he began to walk along the bank toward the cave. The others followed, their footsteps soft against the wet soil. The sound of the river filled their ears, a constant rushing that seemed to grow louder the closer they came to the opening dot at the cave entrance. Tula raised her hand for silence. She stepped forward first, testing the ground. The air coming from the cave was cooler, carrying a faint metallic scent mixed with something sweet, like flowers blooming far away. They stepped inside. The glow from the river lit the walls, revealing shapes carved into the stone. There were suns, stars, and what looked like lines of people with their hands raised toward the sky. Between them were strange shapes that none of them could name. Some sharp like crystals, others smooth like drops of water. Paco stopped to study the carvings. This is not only Mayan. Some of these marks belong to an older language, one I have only seen in fragments. The river flowed faster inside the cave, and the glow grew stronger. The gold dust seemed to swirl in patterns, forming shapes that broke apart before they could be understood. Luan stepped to the edge and looked down. The golden dust seemed endless, as if the river carried the treasure of 100 worlds. He reached into his pocket and took out a small leather pouch. Without thinking too much, he dipped it into the water. When he lifted it out, it was heavy, with glowing dust. The moment he did this, the air in the cave seemed to shift. The sound of the river deepened, and a faint vibration moved through the ground. Tula turned sharply toward him. "Put it back," she said. Her voice was calm but firm. "This river is not ours to take from." Morrow stepped in front of her. "It is only a small amount. We are not harming anything." Before they could argue more, the cave filled with a soft blue light that did not come from the river. It came from deeper inside, beyond where the glow of the gold dust reached. Slowly, the light grew stronger until figures began to appear. They were tall, their shapes human-like but not quite. Their skin shimmered like polished stone, and their eyes glowed the color of molten gold. They moved without sound, stepping onto the edge of the river. Luan felt his chest tighten. Something about them was both beautiful and heavy, like the air before a storm. One of them raised a hand, and though its mouth did not move, Luan heard a voice inside his mind. "You walk the path of the old map," the voice said. "You have touched the blood of the sun." The others stood frozen. Morrow gripped his pouch of gold dust tighter, his eyes darting between the beings. Luan stepped forward slowly. "We follow the map. We mean no harm. We only want to understand." The voice came again. "To understand is to listen. To take is to awaken." Paco whispered to Tula. "They speak of the old stories. A sun beneath the ground. I think this river is part of it." The figure's golden eyes fixed on Luan. "If you wish to see, you will follow. If you wish to leave, you must return what is taken." The river rushed on beside them, carrying its endless glow into the dark. Luan looked at Morrow, then at the Padillo, pouch in his hand. He could feel the moment stretching, a choice waiting to be made. Without knowing why, he nodded to the tall figure. "We will follow," he said. The figures turned and began to walk deeper into the cave, their blue light painting the stone in strange patterns. The group looked at one another, then stepped after them, leaving the sound of the river behind. As they entered the deeper dark, the air grew warmer. Somewhere ahead, the light of the golden dust seemed to return, stronger than before. They were walking not only toward the heart of the jungle, but toward something far older than they had imagined. The figures moved ahead in silence, their tall shapes glowing softly in the dim cave. The blue light from their bodies mixed with the golden glow that came from deeper within. The air was warm and filled with a strange hum that seemed to come from the stone itself. Luan followed close behind, his eyes fixed on the way the light reflected off the walls. The stone was smooth in some places, as if shaped by careful hands, and in others it was rough and full of crystals. Morrow walked beside him, still clutching the pouch of gold dust, his steps quick as if he wanted to be done with this journey. Tula and Paco stayed a few steps back, watching everything closely. The path inside the cave curved downward until it opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling rose high above, hidden in shadows. In the center of the chamber was something that made them all stop dead. It was a pool of golden water, glowing with the same dust that filled the river outside. The water was perfectly still, yet it shone as if lit from below by a hidden sun. Around the pool stood more of the tall figures, each with eyes like molten gold. They turned toward the newcomers without a sound. One of the figures stepped forward. It was taller than the rest, and its glow was brighter, almost too bright to look at for long. The voice came again, inside their minds. "We are the guardians of the sun," the voice said. "We protect what was placed here before your world was young. You have followed the map made by those who came before you, and now you stand at the edge of the heart." Luan's voice trembled slightly as he asked, "What is the heart?" The guardian's eyes seemed to grow warmer. "The heart is the source. The gold you see is not metal as you know it. It is the life of the machine beneath your feet. It flows through the rivers of stone to feed the jungle above and to keep the door closed." Paco stepped forward, his eyes wide with interest. "A machine beneath the jungle? You mean something built by hands?" The guardian's voice answered, "Not by hands of this world. It was placed here when the sky was young and the oceans had no names. The people you call Mayan found it later. They learned to honor it, to protect it, and to mark the path so that only the worthy could reach it. But others came with greed in their hearts. They tried to take the gold. They did not return. Morrow shifted his weight and looked away, his hand still holding the pouch. Tula asked, "Why does the door need to stay closed?" The guardian's gaze turned toward her. "Beyond the door lies a place that is not for your kind. If the heart weakens, the door will open, and what sleeps there will walk your world." A deep silence filled the chamber. The hum in the air seemed to grow louder, like the sound of something breathing far away. Luan tried to imagine a machine so large it could feed a jungle and keep a door between worlds shut. The idea felt too big for his mind to hold, but he believed. The guardians. The gold dust in the river had not felt like ordinary treasure. It had felt alive. The guardian spoke again. "The map you found was not meant for your eyes. It was left as a warning, not a guide. Yet you came, and so you must. Choose. Will you leave as you came, or will you see the heart with your own eyes?" Luan hesitated. "We came this far to learn." "Show us the heart." The tall figure turned and began to walk toward a dark tunnel on the far side of the chamber. The others followed. As they passed the glowing pool, Luan felt a deep vibration in the ground under his feet, as if the entire place was alive and aware of them. The tunnel sloped downward again, and the air grew hotter. The walls changed from stone to a smooth surface that shone faintly, as if made from a single piece of metal. Strange lines ran along the surface, glowing softly like veins of light. Finally, the tunnel opened into another vast space. In the center stood the heart dot. It was a sphere the size of a house, made of gold that seemed to burn from within. It pulsed slowly, sending waves of light across the floor and walls. The hum was louder here, steady and strong, like the beat of a great drum. The guardians stood around the sphere, their eyes glowing brighter in its light. The tall leader turned to Luan and the others. "This is the sleeping heart," the voice said. "As long as it sleeps, your world is safe. But if its blood is taken, it will wake, and the door will break." Paco took a slow step forward, his face full of awe. "This is beyond anything I've ever seen. It is not only a machine, it feels alive." The guardian's gaze moved to Morrow. "One among you has taken the blood of the sun." Morrow's hand tightened on the pouch. "It is just gold. A small amount will not matter." The hum deepened, and the floor trembled slightly. "It matters," the guardian's voice said. "Every grain is part of the whole. When it is removed, the heart feels the wound." Luan looked at Morrow. "Give it back. We cannot risk what they are warning us about." But Morrow's eyes were fixed on the glowing sphere. "Do you not see what this is worth? We could be rich beyond measure. No one has to know." Tula stepped forward, placing herself between Morrow and the sphere. "We came to see, not to steal. This is not ours." The guardian's voice filled the chamber again. "Your path is not yet ended. But if you take from here, your path will end sooner than you wish." The hum of the heart seemed to grow louder, and Luan felt a strange pressure in his chest, as if the air itself was warning them. He knew they could not stay much longer. The tall figure raised a hand, and the blue light from the guardians dimmed. "Decide," the voice said. "Will you return what was taken, or will you carry the weight of what will follow?" Luan's eyes met Morrow's. In that moment, he understood that their journey was no longer only about finding what the map had promised. It was about whether they would leave the jungle as explorers or as thieves. And deep inside, he feared that if they chose wrong, the jungle itself would rise against them. The chamber around the sleeping heart glowed with a deep golden light. The great sphere pulsed slowly, each wave of light spreading across the smooth floor like ripples in water. The air felt heavy, warm, and alive. Luan could hear the steady hum beneath everything, a sound that seemed to come from the stone and the gold itself. The guardians stood like silent statues, their golden eyes fixed on the group. The leader, taller and brighter than the rest, did not move. The voice came again, filling their minds without sound. The choice rests with you. Return what was taken, or leave carrying danger you do not understand. Luan looked at Morrow, whose hand still gripped the pouch of gold dust. The soft glow from inside it escaped through the seams, lighting his fingers in a warm shimmer. Morrow, Luan said quietly, this is not like the gold in the world above. This is part of something living. The guardian said it keeps the jungle alive and the door closed. If we take it, we could break whatever holds that door shut. Morrow shook his head. We came here for treasure. Do you think the map was made to protect the secret for no reason? It was made so someone could find this. And we did. Paco stepped closer. No, the symbols on that map are warnings. I studied them. The star shapes mark danger. The sun beneath. The earth means life force, not wealth. We misread it because we saw what we wanted to see. Tula stood with her arms crossed, her eyes fixed on Morrow. You will return it now. The jungle will not forgive you if you walk out with it. Morrow laughed once, but without joy. You sound like the old stories our grandparents told. Trees that watch, rivers that speak. These are just myths to scare children. Luan took a slow step toward him. And yet we are standing here, talking to beings not of this world, in front of a living golden heart that makes the ground breathe. Maybe the stories were not myths. The guardians did not speak, but the air in the chamber seemed to tighten. The light of the sphere brightened, and the hum grew deeper, like a warning drumbeat. Paco looked around with unease. Something is changing. The heart can feel that its gold is missing. A low vibration moved through the floor, and small ripples spread across the golden surface of the sphere. Luan saw patterns flash across its shapes like constellations, shifting and vanishing again. The tall guardian stepped forward at last. The voice was calm, but carried a weight that pressed into their minds. The heart sleeps, and while it sleeps, the door remains sealed. To wound the heart is to wake it. If it wakes, the door will open, and what waits beyond will not stop until your sky is ash. The words hung heavy in the warm air. Morrow looked away, his jaw tight. Even if that is true, what is a small pouch compared to the whole thing? Guardian's golden eyes glowed brighter. Every grain is part of the whole. A drop of blood is still life taken from the body. Return it. Luan could see Morrow's conflict. He had always dreamed of escaping the hard life in San Verde, of finding something that would make him rich. Luan understood, but he also knew this was not the way. Morrow, he said softly, if you keep it, you might not live long enough to spend it. Tula took a step forward, her voice steady. Give it back, and we walk out alive. Keep it, and we may not walk out at all. For a long moment, Morrow said nothing. Then he slowly loosened his grip, but instead of handing the pouch over, he slipped it into his pack. We will talk about this later. Let us just leave. The guardians did not move to stop them. The leader turned and began walking back toward the chamber with the glowing pool, its tall form bathed in blue light. The group followed, the hum of the heart still pressing at their backs. As they left the great sphere behind, the air cooled slightly, but the tension in Luan's chest did not ease. He knew the gold was still with them, and he feared what that meant. They passed through the chamber with the pool, the golden water still perfectly still. The other guardians stood watching in silence as they crossed to the tunnel leading upward. The carvings on the walls seemed to flicker in the dim light, as if the shapes of suns and stars were shifting and warning. The tunnel wound upward, and soon they could hear the faint sound of the river again. The glowing water flowed out from the cave mouth into the jungle beyond. But as they stepped into the open air, Luwan noticed the forest was different. The sunlight seemed sharper, the air thicker. Birds were silent. Tula frowned. This is not right. The jungle is listening. They began to walk along the riverbank, retracing their steps toward the slope they had climbed earlier. Luwan could not shake the feeling that the trees were watching. The leaves above did not sway, though there was a breeze. Paco stopped suddenly, kneeling beside a stone. Look at this. The gold in the rock is glowing brighter than before. It was faint when we came, but now it shines like fire. Luwan felt a cold knot in his stomach. The heart is reacting. It knows. Far ahead, the river curved out of sight, but from around the bend came a sound deep, slow, like a faraway drum. It matched the rhythm of the heart's hum. Tula tightened her grip on her machete. We need to leave this place quickly. They moved faster, but the sound followed them, steady and patient. The jungle around them seemed to grow thicker, the vines hanging lower, the roots pushing higher from the soil dot. By the time the sun began to set, they had reached the stone path that had led them deeper before. But now the moss-covered stones seemed warmer under their feet, almost pulsing. The blue lights flickered once among the trees, far away but moving closer. Mara walked ahead, his pack bouncing against his back. Luwan knew the pouch of gold dust was inside it, and he wondered if the lights were following that, not them. That night, they camped on the old path, the firelight throwing shadows on the broken pillars. Luwan did not sleep. He sat watching Maro's pack, hearing the distant drumbeat in the dark. The jungle had changed, and he knew the choice Maro made was already shaping what would come next. The fire burned low as night wrapped the jungle in heavy silence. Luwan sat with his back against a broken stone pillar, eyes fixed on the shadows. The air felt too still, like the forest was holding its breath. Every crackle of the fire sounded loud. The others slept in uneasy rest, though Maro's pack lay close to him, one strap looped around his arm. Inside it, the stolen gold dust waited, glowing faintly through the fabric. The drumbeat from the distance had not stopped. It came in slow, steady pulses, like the heartbeat of something vast. Sometimes Luwan thought he could feel it under the ground, moving through the roots and the stone. Near midnight, a strange light appeared between the trees. It was not the cold blue glow of the guardians. This was warmer, golden, and it flickered like fire, but no flame was there. It moved slowly, almost floating, then sank into the ground and vanished. Tula stirred, opening her eyes. "You saw it too," she whispered. "Yes," Luwan said. "It is the jungle's warning. It knows what we carry." Before dawn, the sound of the drumbeat grew louder. The ground trembled lightly, and the roots near their camp seemed to have shifted in the night, curling closer toward the fire. When morning came, the group moved quickly. The stone path ahead was now cracked, golden light seeping from the fractures, as if something beneath the earth was waking. Birds still did not sing, and no animals crossed their way as they walked. Paco ran his fingers over a vine that hung across the path. It was warm, almost hot. "This is not natural," he said. Tula looked ahead sharply. "Do not touch too much. The jungle is alive in ways we do not understand. We must keep moving." Maro kept his eyes forward, his steps fast. He spoke little, but his jaw was tight. Luwan noticed that the pouch inside his pack glowed brighter with each hour. The light seemed to pulse in time with the faraway drum dot. By midday, they reached the ridge that overlooked the valley. From here, the river twisted like a silver snake through the dense green. But Luwan froze when he saw it. The jungle floor below shimmered faintly, as though threads of gold ran through the roots and soil. Paco followed his gaze. The heart is spreading its reach and is searching. As they climbed down the slope, the air grew warmer and heavier. Sweat ran down their faces. but the heat felt different, like standing near a fire that came from the ground itself. The golden threads in the soil seemed to grow thicker, winding together like veins. That night, they did not make a fire. The glow from the ground was enough to see by. It painted their faces in soft light and made the shadows stretch long and strange. Luwan could not rest. He sat listening to the faint hum that now seemed to come from all around. It was no longer far away. It was here, in the trees, in the roots, in the stones dotted in the darkness. A sound rose from the forest floor, a slow crack like a shell breaking. Luwan turned toward it and saw a root push up from the soil, curling toward Maro's pack. Without thinking, Luwan kicked at it. The root recoiled slightly, but did not retreat. Tula was awake now, machete in hand. She slashed at the root, and it pulled back into the earth. Maro sat up, startled. What happened? Tula's eyes were cold. The jungle is reaching for what you stole. It will not stop. Paco's voice was low. If it takes the gold back, maybe it will rest again. Maro shook his head. We are too close to the edge of the jungle. Once we are out, none of this will matter. But Luwan felt that Maro's words were hollow. Deep inside, he knew they could not outrun something that lived in the very ground beneath their feet. They started moving before sunrise. The path ahead twisted through thicker growth now. Vines hung low, some brushing against their shoulders as if testing them. More than once, Luwan thought he saw eyes watching from the leaves. Not human, not animal, but something older. By midday, the sky above darkened, though no clouds had gathered. A golden haze hung in the air, and the drumbeat became faster. The ground trembled more often now, each time sending shivers through the trees. Then they heard it, a deep crack from behind them. Turning, they saw part of the stone path split apart, golden light flooding from the gap like liquid. The air smelled of metal and earth. Pako whispered, "The heart is calling its gold back." Roots burst from the broken ground, twisting upward, like hands reaching for the sky. Some lashed toward them, forcing them to run. Branches bent low, blocking the way, but Tula slashed through them with quick strikes. The group stumbled and pushed forward, the golden light chasing them from behind. Finally, they reached a clearing. The forest here was thinner, and the edge of the jungle was visible beyond. The air felt cooler ahead, as if freedom waited just past the last line of trees. But the ground in the clearing pulsed once, then again. From its center, a figure rose, not a guardian, but something made entirely of tangled roots and golden dust. Its shape was rough, shifting, as though it was still forming. The head turned toward them, and two golden lights shone where its eyes should be. The voice that came from it was deeper than the guardian's and filled with a slow anger. The heart wakes. The door weakens. Return what is not yours, or all. We'll walk into shadow. Maro gripped his pack tightly. We cannot give it back. We have come too far. Tula stepped in front of him. You fool. This is not a matter of distance. This is a matter of survival. The root creature began to move toward them, each step sinking into the earth. Vines whipped out from its body, wrapping around tree trunks, pulling it forward faster. Luwan could see no way to fight something like this. The only thing that mattered now was choice: return the gold and hope the jungle would let them go, or run and risk the heart's full awakening. The clearing seemed smaller now, the trees bending inward as if to close them in. The golden haze thickened, glowing brighter with every heartbeat. Maro's hand trembled on the pack. His eyes darted between the creature and the open edge of the jungle ahead. The drumbeat was no longer distant. It was inside their chests, their skulls, their bones. The moments stretched long, the air heavy with heat and fear. Somewhere deep below, the heart was waking. The golden haze swirled around the clearing. It clung to their clothes and skin, making every breath feel heavy. The root creature stood in front of them, tall as two men, its golden eyes fixed on the pack in Morrow's hands. The drumbeat was no longer just a sound. It was a force pressing inside their heads, making thought and movement harder. Tula held her machete ready, though she knew a blade could do little against something born from the earth itself. Luan's heart pounded in his ears. Paco's voice was low, almost lost in the thundering beat. Morrow, this is your moment. Choose the gold or choose your life. Morrow's hand shook, but his jaw was tight. We have come too far to leave. With nothing. His voice was hoarse, and his eyes were wide, as if the weight of his own words frightened him. The root creature took another step forward. Vines spread from its feet into the soil, sinking deep. The ground shook, and the cracks glowed brighter, golden dust rising into the air like sparks. The voice of the creature rumbled through the clearing. The heart does not forgive. The heart does not forget. Return what is ours, or all shall be taken. Luan stepped forward, standing between Morrow and the creature. You think this is treasure. I think this is a warning. Look around you. This place is not dead. It is alive and it wants what you took. But Morrow only gripped the pack tighter, his face pale but stubborn. Gold is gold. It will feed us for years. It will change everything. The golden haze thickened. Now it stung their eyes and burned their throats. The trees groaned as their roots shifted in the soil, curling toward the center of the clearing. From every side, small cracks appeared in the ground, each glowing faintly. Paco coughed, his voice ragged. If you keep it, the heart will wake fully. We will not leave this place alive. Tula's gaze hardened. Morrow, this is no longer about you. If you will not give it back, then I will take it from you. She stepped closer, her hand outstretched, but Morrow stepped back, shaking his head. No, you do not understand. Before he could finish, the ground beneath him heaved like a wave. He stumbled, and the pack slipped from his grasp. It hit the earth, and the golden dust inside spilled out in a sudden burst, glittering in the air. The reaction was instant. The root creature roared, though it was more like the sound of stone breaking and earth splitting. The spilled dust lifted on an unseen wind and swirled toward the cracks in the ground. It streamed downward as if pulled by a deep breath from the earth itself. The jungle around them shuddered. Vines lashed out, wrapping around Morrow's legs and arms. He screamed and tried to pull free, but the vines only tightened. Luan rushed forward, hacking at the vines with his machete. Tula joined him, cutting faster, her teeth clenched. The vines released Morrow suddenly, throwing him to the ground. His face was pale and drenched in sweat. The pack lay empty beside him. The last of the golden dust sank into the soil, leaving the air strangely clear. The root creature stepped back. Its golden eyes dimmed slightly, and its form seemed less solid now, parts of it turning to drifting dust. The deep voice came again, softer but still filled with power. The heart sleeps once more. Leave this place and never return. For a moment, no one moved. The jungle was still, the haze gone, the drumbeat fading into silence. Only the heavy breathing of the group broke the quiet. Then Paco spoke. We should go before it changes its mind. They began moving toward the edge of the clearing. Morrow walked slowly, his shoulders slumped. His eyes were on the ground, not meeting anyone's gaze. Luan stayed near him, unsure if he felt pity or anger. The path beyond the clearing was different now. The golden threads in the soil had faded, leaving only the rich, dark earth. Birds began to sing again, soft at first, then louder, as if the jungle itself was breathing easier. By midday, they reached the edge of the jungle. The sunlight beyond was bright and ordinary, and the wind carried the scent of grasslands instead of heavy leaves and damp soil. Tula stopped and turned to look back. The line of trees stood silent, their shadows deep. "We were given a chance. We will not get another." Morrow said nothing. He stepped into the sunlight and kept walking. They followed the narrow trail toward the nearest village. None of them spoke for a long time. Luan's mind was still back in the clearing, with the glowing cracks in the earth and the deep voice that had spoken from the roots. That night, they made camp in the open fields. The sky was full of stars, and the air was cool. It felt far from the weight of the jungle, yet the memory of it stayed close. Paco sat beside the fire, staring at the flames. "Do you think the heart will ever wake again?" Tula poked at the fire with a stick. "If someone is foolish enough to take from it again, yes. And maybe next time, it will not warm before it strikes." Morrow lay on his side, facing away from them. Luan wondered if he was asleep or simply pretending. The fire burned low. In the quiet, Luan thought he heard something faint, almost too soft to notice, a single slow drumbeat, far away. He told himself it was only the wind in the grass, but deep inside, he was not sure. The next morning, they walked on. The jungle was behind them, yet its presence was not gone. It lived in their memories now, in the way they noticed the soil beneath their feet, the way they looked at the roots of trees, the way they thought twice before touching something ancient. The journey had changed them. The gold was gone, but they had carried something else out of the jungle, an understanding that some treasures are not meant to be taken, and some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed. And somewhere far beneath the ground, the heart of the jungle slept, waiting for the day it might wake again.